50% tax on everything from Brazil? President Trump is threatening to hit the South American giant with crippling tariffs, and the reason why is shaking up international relations. It's not about trade deficits this time, it's about a trial. Welcome to a special report where we break down the latest in global trade wars. Today, we're looking at why the US is targeting Brazil and what it has to do with a man often called the Trump of the tropics. President Donald Trump has announced a potential 50% tariff on all Brazilian goods, set to begin on August 1st. In a letter to Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Trump demanded an immediate end to the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro, calling it a witch hunt. Bolsonaro is currently facing charges for an alleged coup attempt to overturn the 2022 election results. This move is a significant escalation. Unlike 21 other countries that recently received tariff threats, the US actually has a $6.8 billion 0 cents trade surplus with Brazil, meaning America sells more to them than it buys. A retaliatory 50% tariff from Brazil could seriously damage key US industries like aircraft, fuel, and machinery. President Lula fired back on social media, stating, "Brazil is a sovereign nation with independent institutions and will not accept any form of tutelage." He promised to respond to any unilateral tariffs by using Brazil's own law of economic reciprocity. This is the first time in months a country has directly threatened to match Trump's tariff measures. This isn't an isolated event. Trump has sent tariff letters to 22 governments this week, with rates as high as 30% for countries like the Philippines and Sri Lanka. The common thread in most letters is addressing trade deficits. However, the letter to Brazil is unique, focusing on a domestic political issue. In the same week, Trump also announced a separate 50% tariff on all copper imports, citing a national security assessment. He stated that copper is the second most used material by the Department of Defense, and that the tariff is meant to rebuild the American copper industry. This announcement immediately caused copper prices to surge to a record high. So, what does this all mean? Trump is using tariffs as a tool for foreign policy, not just economic negotiation. He offered Brazil an out, saying there would be no tariffs if Brazilian companies move their manufacturing to the United States, an offer made to other countries as well. But the direct intervention in another country's judicial process marks a new and unpredictable chapter in his trade strategy. As the August 1st deadline approaches, the world will be watching to see if these threats become a reality, potentially triggering a wider trade conflict. That's all for this update. Subscribe for more in-depth analysis on the stories shaping our world.